So Hyperia trains are now on the track at Thorpe Park. Yellow car now returns, and this marks the final piece of the puzzle. Well, one of the final pieces, there's still quite a bit to do. And whilst most of the hardware is now in place, Thorpe Park still have a lot of work to do before this is ready to open next month. And talking of the ride opening, I am trying to get my mum to ride Hyperia, so please hit that subscribe button so we can pile the pressure on. I'm a horrible human. Now the first point to look at is the ride has only just started testing. And to put that in perspective, why that's a bit of an issue, the Drayton Manor coaster has already had a pull-through test, and that doesn't have an opening date or anything confirmed. So yeah, Thorpe should be ahead of them. And on the topic of clearance testing for the pull-through, that definitely looks like it needs a test.
Nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless?
Like this.
However, reverting back to the Drayton Manor coaster, that is a much smaller structure in comparison to the UK's tallest, but it is seemingly quite far ahead of Hyperia. I'm not sure if that's an issue. And once again, that coaster doesn't have an opening date yet, whereas Hyperia is opening in about a month. And everyone has already booked their trips, so no pressure for. And now this isn't really relevant for the video, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Hyperia still doesn't have any theming. We already knew that. The lack of theming was not an issue for Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach or Helix at Liseberg, although they were very nicely stylised, and that is kind of the case for Hyperia as well, so it looks like a nice cigarette. But back to the point, in a lot of cases, world-class or at least really good roller coasters don't always have to be themed like Taron. Another example, hypercoasters are considered some of the best roller coasters in the world. Shambhala, Mako, and the other ones aren't heavily themed roller coasters, yet they still feature in a lot of people's top 10s. So give Hyperia a break, okay? Now back to addressing the potential issues or challenges with Hyperia at the moment. This roller coaster is gonna probably garner global appeal. The layout looks incredible, unlike anything else in the world, and I at least assume it's gonna make it into my top 10. Why is that an issue? I hear some of you say. That sounds like a good thing. It is a good thing. However, when you see parks open a signature roller coaster, a standout roller coaster like this, you do always wonder, will the operations be able to handle it? And the question is, does Thorpe Park have the capacity for potential global interest when rides like Taron open to 3-hour queues at the very organised Phantasialand, must I add? But I am optimistic, and I'll explain why. Despite having extremely long queues, Thorpe Park have had really long queues this season. 95 minutes for a 22-year-old coaster. That's normal. So I did have a few concerns, skepticism to say the least. This has been attributed to ride closures dropping the park's capacity due to weather, obviously the season being new as well, new staff trying to get up to speed, and then the global popularity of Vortex. So look, I had my concerns about Thorpe Park opening this coaster and there being huge queues. I'm sure a lot of people watching this also had those concerns, but it is a Mack. Mack coasters are renowned for being absolute queue munchers. Mack coasters are renowned for having high capacity and getting through the queue as quickly as possible. Look at rides like Icon being the most popular ride at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, yet always having a lower queue than Steeplechase. And despite Thorpe Park having long queues so far this season, it is the third most visited park in the UK, and an extra ride will simultaneously increase the park's capacity whilst of course bringing more guests in, so it'll probably even itself out. Also, the staff at Thorpe Park are excellent, some of the best staff in the country. They've likely gone through a lot of training for this new high profile ride, and of course it's a Mack. I'm sure this ride will operate at a high capacity. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Ciao, legends.
That was good, wasn't it? Please, sir, can we have some more? You don't have to call me sir. But here's your link. Click it. Sir Pun-A-Lot would sound cool though.